Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Another glorious afternoon here in Michigan, and I have already did the offensive depth chart breakdown. So go watch that video. I'll put it in a link somewhere in a card. And right now, we're about to break down the defense, and it's going to be rather special. I see multiple places have Michigan top five. A couple have Michigan at top two in the nation behind Georgia. I think they could be number one, but we shall see. Um, Georgia's really good, and they get all them 5 stars, and they develop very well, but so does Michigan. Um, let's start with the defensive line. I think that's probably the second most important group on a football team. And let's start with Braden McGregor and the defensive edges. Left end and right end. I think Braden McGregor is probably the best of them all. He's a senior. He is 6'6", 261 pounds, had 17 tackles and 2.5 sacks. Now, you got to remember that all these defensive linemen sat behind Mazi Smith, Mike Morris, and Eyabi Okie. Two of them are in the NFL, and one transferred to, I think, Coastal Carolina or somewhere. Maybe we got him from there. I don't know. He goes everywhere. He's a lone ranger there. But Braden McGregor returns. At backing him up at left end, I think, is Derek Moore, sophomore, 6'3", 279 pounds. He had 8 tackles and 2 sacks. And then at right end, you have probably Jalen Harrell, the senior, 6'4", 246 pounds, 30 tackles and 3.5 sacks. But we got that transfer from Coastal Carolina, Josiah Stewart, a senior, 6'1", 237 pounds, had 37 tackles and 3.5 sacks last season at Coastal Carolina. But in 2021, he had 12.5 sacks there at Coastal Carolina. The big maulers up the middle. We have 4 players that can destroy some offensive lines here. And let's start with nose tackle Mason Graham, a sophomore. He is 6'3", 317 pounds, 14 tackles, 2.5 sacks. Kenneth Grant is a sophomore, 6'3", 356 pounds, 8 tackles. And defensive tackle Chris Jenkins, a senior, 6'3", 285 pounds, 54 tackles and 2 sacks. And Rayshon Benny, of course, a senior, 6'4", 292 pounds with 13 tackles. Now, Michigan returns at least 25.5 sacks from last season from this defensive line. So they did not get the playing time that they probably could have got, which is exciting. They're all back, and they're all ready to prove that they are the new Mike Morris and Mazi Smith and Eyabi Okie. All right, let's talk about linebacker. And there are a couple others at defensive line. Kayshawn Bennett is a junior. Cam Good is a senior that can plug up that middle. And TJ Guy is a junior as well. At linebacker, of course, Junior Colson. He's back, junior, 6'2", 235 pounds, led the team in tackles, 101 tackles, and he had 2 sacks. So just everywhere you need him to be, clogging up that middle, he's keeping everything in front of him, 101 tackles. And, for Michigan, tackles are far and few between because there's a lot of 3 and outs for these teams. So tackles are hard to come by on Michigan's defense. Now, backing him up, I think Jimmy Rolder, a junior, 6'2", 228 pounds, had 14 tackles and limited playing time. And then your weak side linebacker will be Michael Barrett, a senior, 6 foot, 233 pounds, had 72 tackles, 3.5 sacks, and 2 interceptions. And then our transfer in, of course, from Nebraska, their best linebacker, Ernest Hausman, a sophomore. He is 6'2", 228 pounds, had 54 tackles and 1 sack at Nebraska last season. Other linebackers include Jaden Hood, a senior, and Micah Pollard, a junior. Let's move right in. Going back from front to back, we're talking nickelback now, and probably the best in the nation is Mike Sainristil, a senior. He decided to come back for the one more year fund. Had he is 5'10", 182 pounds, had 58 tackles, 2 sacks, and 1 crucial interception versus Ohio State, and a couple more pass breakups in that game. He is amazing. Backing him up is probably Cody Jones, a sophomore, 5'11", 193, had 5 tackles. Now, a long list of cornerbacks here. 2 of them really, really good. A lot of them are unknown, and that's why they were the weakest link in Michigan's team. I had a video on that. Will Johnson, though, is a junior, 6'2", 194 pounds, had 27 tackles, and 25 of those were solo tackles. So he can be out on an island by himself. 3 interceptions and 3 pass breakups. Josh Wallace is a senior and a transfer from the University of Massachusetts. 6', 190, had 41 tackles there, but 32 of them were solo, and 2 interceptions and 8 pass breakups. And then you got Jaden McBurrows, a junior, 5'11", 206 pounds, had 2 tackles. Miles Pollard, a sophomore, 6'1", 191, no stats to be mentioned. German Green and Kayshawn Harris are both seniors and both had 5 tackles last season. Amorion Walker is a sophomore, 6'3", 180. Will he go back to wide receiver now, or would he rather be at the wide receiver? Would he go back to cornerback, or would he go back to wide receiver, or would he rather be a cornerback? Blah. Rod Moore at free safety has to be the best free safety in the nation as well. A junior, 6', 185, had 71 tackles, 48 of those were solo. This guy roams and goes where he has a nose for the football. 4 interceptions, 3 pass breakups. Backing him up at free safety, I expect Quentin Johnson, a senior, 5'11", 202 pounds, had 11 tackles. And then at strong safety, Makari Page, a senior, 6'4", 200 pounds, had 41 tackles, 1 sack, and 1 interception last season. And Zeke Berry will be backing him up, a sophomore, 5'11", 197, and had 1 tackle. Other DBs include Caden Colasar, a senior, and Keon Sabb, a sophomore, who I think will be backing all these ridiculously talented individuals up. Michigan returns the same DC for the first time in a while, and all its position coaches. Like I said, Michigan returns at least 25.5 sacks and 13 interceptions from last season. With Colson in the middle, I feel like this team could be another top 5 defense, of course. So there you have it, the defensive breakdown for the roster going into 2023. Stay tuned. I'm going to do the special teams in a different video, and we still have Ohio State to look at. So stay tuned, everybody. Remember to like the video, subscribe, and go blue. Have a great day.